Wow. As you guys can see beside me on the screen, that's Mourinho holding the new Spurs season kit because he's officially signed for Tottenham. He is their new manager. Mourinho is the new manager of Tottenham Hotspur. Now, yeah, it's actually a mazza. You know, it's crazy. It feels surreal. Is this actually reality right now? And if anything, you know, it really proves to me that I cannot be surprised by the Premier League anymore. You know, when you're investing in so much money into this league, you know, morals are going to go out the window because, you know, it becomes about self-preservation. It becomes about being a careerist, you know. The money's there, you guys, you know, you go to secure the bag. That's what you do. But of course, is everyone not entitled to that? Let's be serious. Let's not pretend that owners make things easy. And, you know, before I even get into talking about Mourinho, I want to give my brief thoughts and opinions on Pochettino being sacked. Now, for me, it's very, very simple. He wasn't fully backed by Levy. I've always thought that Levy's been a very risk-averse owner. You know, he doesn't take the risk when he needs to. How many times have Tottenham got into Europe and he hasn't given money to the manager or invested or improved the team? It's the same scenario here. It's quite obvious that Pochettino is like, listen, I've been working with a lot of these guys for 5 years right now. In football, things naturally plateau. As Arrigo Sacchi himself said, every 3 to 4 seasons, you need to change your team because, again, things become too demanding. I mean, I've read quotes from Ancelotti talking about his time as an AC Milan manager, saying that, you know, training so intensively like that for 4 seasons takes a massive toll on you. It does, and this is why you constantly need to revamp and refresh things. And listen, there was one guy in the Premier League, one of the greatest managers in the history of the game, Sir Alex Ferguson. He's shown everyone the blueprint. Sir Alex Ferguson, every 3 to 4 seasons at Man United, new tactics, subtle changes, new players replacing existing ones. You know, a lot of times guys like your Van Nistelrooys, your Roy Keanes, a lot of players in their prime, you know. At the time when Sir Alex Ferguson let them go, people were dumbfounded and they couldn't believe it. But now with hindsight now that we can look back at his career, you say that he was right every single time. You know, there must have been about, 5 different teams under Sir Alex Ferguson over 20 years. That's how you do it. And it's natural that Pochettino and Levy got into a beef, which probably started from the end of last season because Levy doesn't back him. It's as simple as that. I mean, you got Spurs to a Champions League final. As us fans, we'd never thought we'd ever see that happen in a billion years. Let's be serious. Wouldn't it be everything was going to happen? And that is prime testament to Pochettino, you know, his managerial abilities and how he got this team functioning. I mean, you know, I think it's safe to say that maybe Pochettino made Spurs become a lot more likable. And I think that under Pochettino, Spurs literally became the very definition of a team that could beat anyone on their day. I mean, we saw that. I mean, when they beat Barcelona, Real Madrid, I mean, you know, they beat a lot of great teams, outplaying them. The thing with Spurs is that they couldn't do it consistently. That was the only thing with them. It's good for us and good for the rest of the rivals, of course. But that was the reality. And Pochettino's thinking, I got you to a Champions League final. You know, we were close. Give me the money to invest, you know. Signing Ndombele's and stuff isn't enough. I need more structural changes. I need to replace some of these old guys and bring in new players. And that was something that risk-adverse Levy didn't want to do. And that's the real reason why, for me, Pochettino has been sacked, and it's looking like he could be going to Bayern Munich. I mean, it's my opinion, but I would not be surprised that he goes to Bayern Munich. It seems like they have all the players there readily available to play a style of football. Don't be surprised to see that, you guys. Oh, this tea got cold real quick. It's kind of funny that Levy's let go of Pochettino, who just a few seasons ago, there was a 50 million buyout clause to sign Pochettino. Back then, we were linked with him before Lampard was even a thing and before Sarri was a thing. And I'll tell you guys, as I told you guys back those seasons ago, Roman Abramovich was a massive, massive fan of Pochettino. They held a bit of talks. That was the reality, but they got priced out. 50 million. And the ironic crazy thing is that now Spurs have a 20 million deficit because, you know, the buyout clause of Pochettino, as well as paying off the rest of his coaching staff, means that they're losing out on money. And I'm guessing this is the real reason why Levy was so adamant to sign Mourinho, because he costs absolutely nothing right now. And, you know, this is the perfect time to, you know, segue into Mourinho, so I can give my thoughts and opinions on how I feel about him signing for Spurs. And yeah, I know it's crazy to see beside me that this guy's holding up the Spurs shirt, and you gotta keep things very real for a second. Let's put aside the emotion. Let's just see things from a purely business point of view. If Tottenham are the only club really showing interest in you, then I guess you have to sign for them. I can't imagine that Mourinho had tons of clubs, especially tons of big clubs, constantly sending him texts, constantly talking him, asking what he's about. I don't think that was the case, you guys. The ironic thing is though, is that Levy signed a manager who has had a history of needing to spend tons of money to bring success to a team, something that Levy's shown that he doesn't really like doing too much, and Mourinho's always brought a lot of drama to clubs that he's been involved with, something that Levy doesn't really like too much as well. So I don't know, you guys, it feels like this really isn't a match made in heaven, and I would not be surprised that this relationship turns sour in the not too distant future, because it seems like it's written in stone, to be honest. But you know, as I'm saying, from a purely business point of view, he's entitled to it. Think of the human aspect. He wants to live in London, be with his family. He was very audible about his time at Man United, speaking about how being away from his family and living in a hotel is not the most healthy environment to constantly be in, especially when you're a manager in a very high pressure scenario, managing one of the most demanding teams in world football. And maybe could the argument be that as fans, we need to maybe adapt and evolve how we see things? I mean, for example, look at how things run in Serie A. Players are constantly swapping from big club to big club. Managers do the same thing as well. People don't seem to make a song and dance about things. I think we understand that that's football, that's life, and that's how this business goes. But now that I've framed that argument, let's look at things from a different perspective. Mourinho has always been a guy that's let everyone know that, it's more about football. That's what's been his selling point. When he signed for clubs, it's always been us against the world. It's always been about, getting the fans on board. And, looking back, I have to be honest, you guys, I'm seeing things through extremely cynical lenses, because for me, this is just strategies by Mourinho to do what he has to do to bring success in. He's done the same thing at every single club. Maybe that needs to adapt a bit. Maybe keep things a bit real instead of selling us this fantasy and dream, because listen, back in the day, it was cool. But now you've been a manager for more than 15 seasons, I don't think you can do that consistently right now. And I think when you're a manager that's constantly made a name for a lot of very strong statements with a lot of conviction, then at the same time, you have to be held to those same standards. Now, let's not forget the times where, for example, the irony just doesn't even end, you guys. Frank Lampard, when he went to sign for Man City, of course he scored the equaliser against us after Andre Schürrle messed up, and was it any surprise that Mourinho never used Schürrle again? Of course not. But getting back to the point, Mourinho came out to state that, listen, when you sign for direct rivals in that sense, the love lost is gone. It's gone out the window, you guys, and if Mourinho is saying that, then I think it's only fair that we hold the man that came up with the very same words to the same standards. And this is where how we feel about this is justified, because Mourinho has always catered towards how people feel, the emotional state of the fan, the viewer, etc, etc. So it's only fair that we keep things consistent. Now, another quote's doing the rounds on social media right now is the stuff he said in 2007, saying that, he could never sign for Spurs because he's a fan of the club. Now, 2007's like, how many years ago? Can we still hold on to those same standards? I still think we can, you guys. I still think we can. And I'm sorry, you guys, but I can't shake off this cynical lens that I've got on Mourinho. I've always felt that with Mourinho, he's been a manager that's always been about strategy. He's always been about winning at all costs. And to do that, it means that he breaks things down into the most minute of details. And I think one detail that Mourinho is consistently always tapping into is maybe selling this idea of us against them. I've always felt that Mourinho, he does that for his own self-gain and his own careerist methods. It's part of his package for him to get that success that he needs. He needs every element of a club to be exactly fine-tuned to how he needs it to be. He sold this whole dream about being one of us and, being part of this club's legacy, not because I personally feel like he feels like he's one of us, but because he wants to highlight his coaching success and, the Mourinho effect that he brings to teams. He's always sold this image that he's a winner, he gets the job done. But recently, that image is starting to crack. I personally feel like if he doesn't bring success to Tottenham, if he doesn't win at least one trophy, irrespective of the magnitude of that success, if there isn't a trophy there, then I feel like his legacy could be really tarnished, you guys. You know, he made a very big call, you know, as he always does. He made a massive call to sign for Tottenham, you know, a team that haven't won anything for a very long time right now. You know, he's had a lot of harsh words from Mourinho, a lot of harsh words for previous managers that signed for Chelsea as well. He's had harsh words for everyone. Now, he's fully put himself in the firing line. To not tarnish his image, he needs to win something. It's simple as that. Now, part of me thinks that maybe the only redeemable thing that Mourinho could do to really save how fans see him is by, you know, if he got Spurs relegated, you know, if guys like Kane and Eriksen and all their best players got sold, then it'd be like, aha, you guys, this is my master plan all along. That's the only way that he could really redeem himself. But I mean, come on. That's not going to happen. Now, I get the arguments people might say, but Nini, you know, he sacked him twice. Now, the first time he got sacked, yeah, I feel like the board took a big L because it was their fault. They didn't really support him and they should have, and who knows what could have happened from that point on. His second period, I felt like he got himself sacked. Now, you know, when he did leave the club, he left on his own terms. After that defeat to Leicester, he went to the board and he said, listen, I've taken this team as far as I can, and he did the honourable thing by leaving. So respect to Mourinho for that. But all I'm saying is that if you come out with big, powerful statements every single time, be consistent and stick to them. When we play Spurs later this season, it's going to be box office. It's going to be ridiculous. And, you know, I have to say that I'm going to be here for it. And honestly, I think of Frank Lampard and I keep thinking, wow, you know, this guy really is like the golden man. All the stars are aligned in his favor. You know, of course, you needed Mourinho to be at Spurs because now we'll constantly be comparing what Mourinho does at Spurs to what Lampard does with us. You know, let's not forget, Mourinho came out to state that after Lampard scored that equaliser against us when he was at Man City, Mourinho said that when you sign for a direct competitor, not even a rival, for a competitor, the love stories are over. I don't believe in stories of passion or heart, and I believe that. Maybe I'm too pragmatic in football, at least he knows that. Lampard did his job as a professional. This is what I mean. How can you make statements like that? Yes, I know it was like 5 years ago, but listen, whatever you say is going to be on the internet forever. No one's ever going to forget that. If you make statements with such conviction like that, you need to stick to them. All I'm saying is that when Mourinho inevitably creates that us against the world mentality at Spurs, it's going to feel very fake and cynical to me. It's just another Mourinhoism that he does to, you know, get the teams to start working for him, because ultimately, and I've always felt this, Mourinho does things for himself. He cares about his legacy, he cares about the trophies he wins, and that's why his teams are set up in the way they're set up. This is why, I mean, I think about that United game against Ajax in the Europa League final. Now, yeah, they won the game. But I mean, in those circumstances like that, against teenagers, I mean, United spent hundreds of millions that window to play such a negative, weak style of football against young players still making their names. I mean, oh my. Now, I get it, you know, for some people, that's okay, and that's what it's about. It comes down to personal preference at the end of the day. That's what it comes down to. But for me personally, this whole image and facade that he's created over the years, I mean, I think is dismantled. It's not even cracked anymore, you guys. It's rubble. You know, it's dust on the floor. That's what it is. What I'm saying is, when we play against Spurs later this season, we know we're going to be facing a Spurs team that will look to play very cynically, very pragmatically. They're going to look to target some of the young players. You know, Mourinho's already started to, you know, give his thoughts and opinions on some of the guys at the club right now. And, you know, it just makes it even more ironic that people even stuck it on Jody Morris in the first place when he came out with very light-hearted tweets against Mourinho. I mean, was he wrong? And my thing was always, well, Morris has been with this guy personally for how many years? I think he's going to have a bigger, greater insight into the man than any of us will. I mean, do we really think that just reading a few press reports will give us the full story on the man? I don't think so. And I've always thought that everything that Morris has been talking about and complaining about with the club, I've always felt like it's been directed at Mourinho. You know, let's not forget that Mourinho was the same guy that said that when he came here. You know, if guys like Baker, Izzy Brown, etc., aren't England internationals, and Slanky too, aren't England's internationals in the next few years, he would have failed. Has anyone held him up to accountability? And the ironic thing is, in his statement to the press today, he said that he signed for Spurs because of their passionate fan base, and he signed because they have a good squad and they have an exciting academy. And I'm just thinking, been there, done that, heard that before. It's not going to happen. Let's be realistic, Is Mourinho really going to bring in Oliver Skip to the first team? He's not going to do that. He'll say what he needs to say so Mourinho can get where he needs to get to. That's what the guy's always been about at the end of the day. Listen, the game's the game. It's a cynical industry. Maybe sometimes you got to fight fire with fire. I understand it. But what I'm saying is keep the consistency, bro. Keep that consistency. Thank you for watching. I'm Nini FC. This is Blue Lions TV. Signing out.